All right, we have the shell of our shelving unit built. And next thing I want to do is I want to put some more vertical supports in here. Just kind of like a bookshelf, there's a span between shelves. The bookshelves are usually anywhere from 2 to sometimes as much as 3 feet apart, depending on what material they're made out of. For wooden shelves, and it depends a lot too on the type of wood that you're using. Now, with my shelves, you don't want to have, or with any shelf, you don't want to have a very large span, between vertical shelving units that are vertical shelves that are going to hold up this top piece right here, and then of course hold up your other shelves. If you're using kind of a light wood, general purpose wood, you don't want to go more than 2 feet apart as far as your vertical portions of your shelves here. No more than 2 feet apart. Sometimes even less, just depends on your design. Now, you can also, a lot of times you can go up to about 30 inches. But don't go more than 30 inches on most materials. Now, you'll have to it comes from experience, just knowing the distance that you can span between there. I've seen shelves that were spanned a greater distance, and then of course more effort was put into shoring the shelves up in between that. But generally we can start around 24 inches to 30 inches between vertical shelving pieces here. All right, now what I want to do is to put those vertical supports in here. I'm going to copy this line, and I'm just going to drop it all the way across the page here. All right, so I'm going to go to the copy command, just like it is on AutoCAD. It looks just like this. Click on it, and then click the line that I want to copy. Now I'm just going to click the one line, because if I click this line here, this line goes all the way through the full height of the shelving system. And if I did that and use that line, then I would have to have a lot of trimming to do inside of the shelving. And it just depends which one you think is quicker or better for you to use. I like this method. Now you could copy all, and I'll show you kind of what it does here if I copy that. So I'm going to copy both of those, click enter, and then I'm going to move the unit, find me a good reference point, okay? Click on that reference point and then start moving. And then get it about 2 feet away, right there. Now as you see here, if I zoom in, you can see how the geometry, how it kind of filled in that little spot there. Now I could continue doing that and it would be perfectly fine, but I would have to come back and trim that piece out, and yet you'd have to do that on every piece all the way down. So it just depends on what you find the simplest. Now what I do, I'm going to get rid of this, is I just take the one line. Okay, I still got it set for 3/4, or wait, no, that's something totally different. That's offset. Okay, copy, and I'm going to click on that piece right there, enter. All right, and then I'm going to move that one 2 feet right here. Now that just gives me one line. Oh yeah, and I also forgot to do one other thing. Let's see, I want to delete that. Copy, pick, enter. I'm going to turn this multiply box on. So I just kind of redid all that. I'm going to turn that multiply box on. That way I can drop multiple vertical supports along the way. So I just chose that one line, and then I just keep going every 2 feet. Okay, and another 2 feet. Okay, and I don't have to worry about the last one, it's already there. All right, and now what I do is I offset 3/4 of an inch. It's already set for 3/4 of an inch because that's what I had offset originally. So it just maintains that original dimension while I'm still in the same session here. So because I used the inside line of this one to copy, I'm going to actually make my offsets to the left to sort of even up the space between the shelves and make everything hunky-dory. Now you can get this more exact if you wanted to, Now all of these shelves here are going to be the same distance apart. This one might be just a little bit off, but you really can't tell by looking at it. And it just really depends on the purpose, your purpose. But you can, take a measurement of the inside dimension here, basically from this shelf to this shelf, and divide that sum by however many vertical pieces that you want to put in there, or divide it by 24 if you only want 24-inch spans, and then calculate an exact measurement. So really, for this one to be exact, I would really measure it to be like 23 7/8 inches apart. But it's close enough to 24, so I went ahead and just put them at 24. And this one's the only one that really notices the difference, and it's really just so hard to tell that it is going to make a difference in most cases. Now, if you got a really picky customer, then it might make a difference, so you'd have to consider that as well. So now we have our vertical shelving, which supports the top, okay, and it sits on top of the bottom, as you see here. Okay, and then the next thing we want to do is we want to figure out, I want to put some shelves across the middle at some distance. Now this is a closet shelving unit, so it's going to have clothes. I plan for there to be clothes hanging from the top off of a bar that's going to extend all the way across. So how far down do I place my shelves? Well, it really depends on who I'm building it for. You might want to check if you're building your shelving unit for a really tall person. You might want to go to their house or wherever, ask them to take some measurements of their current closet. And what you want to do is measure from the top of the closet shelving. You want to measure vertically, down to how far their clothes hang down, not from the hanger rod, but from the very top of that shelf that the clothes rod is below. Okay, so if you measure, and let's say whoever's clothes it is measures, say, 4 feet, that's how far their clothes typically hang down from the hanger, then you'll want to put these shelves about 4 foot 6 inches. Okay, this one particular shelving unit is built based on myself, and if I were to measure my clothes hanging from the hanger rod, from the all the way to the top of the shelving unit down to where the bottom of my clothes, and that would measure out to right at 3 feet. And I want to put a little extra space on that, so I'm going to do it at 3 feet 6 inches to make sure my clothes don't crinkle up down at the bottom. Okay, so what I'm going to do is go to the Create tab here, and I'm just going to make a reference line. Reference line is a non-permanent line. You can delete it when you're done with it. Of course, you could also use a regular line as long as you go back and delete it when you're done. So for this reference line, it doesn't matter where across the top you put this. It makes no difference at all whatsoever. But you'll want to start it from the bottom edge of that very top shelf. And you're going to pull it down. I'm going to pull this one down 3 feet 6 inches. There we go. Now I just use that as a guide to place my shelves going all the way across. Okay, so I want to get out of the reference line and go over here to hit model line. Okay, now I'm in model line and not reference line. And as you see, when I do that, it brings up a whole set of tools. Reference line brings its own set of tools up, which are almost identical to the regular model lines. Okay, but you got to be on the model line to draw a permanent line that's going to affect your overall geometry. Now here, I'm just going to go from shelf to shelf, or from vertical shelf support to vertical shelf support, and click. And what I do is I click here to start it, click here to end it, click here to start it, click here to end it, and you see I'm all lined up on that marker line right there, that construction line. And as I go along, of course, it's going to know kind of what I'm doing here, and it's going to automatically line up. And that's it. Okay, so I escape out of that, and I accidentally drew this one too short. So I'll just click on it and extend it. There we go. Okay, so I have my horizontal shelving, and now I want to offset that by the thickness of my material. And on this particular shelving unit, I'm going to use a little thinner material for these shelves here, because it's really not a crucial for support. They're going to have not much weight on them, typically no weight on them at all. So I can actually use a little lesser expensive wood, save the job some money, and offset those by 15 32nds of an inch. That's the thickness of the material that I'm going to use for those shelves. Okay, so again, I just offset to the bottom, okay, because I measured everything to the top, so I want to keep that dimension and all that to the bottom. So there's my horizontal shelves and all my vertical shelving units, and I'm going to end the video here. And the next video I will talk about designing a faceplate. Okay.